Marcio key cards. He's got 3 Deafening Clarion. He's got those main deck copies of Aether Gust, which are actually quite good here, and those main deck copies of Dream Trawler if the game gets that late. Of course, Fires of Invention, Teferis, Bone Crusher Giants, Cavaliers package, some stuff that you're going to be used to. And you see Marcio's hand. There's that key red and white sorcery that can clean up all the creatures, but Seth has demonstrated he can work through that and then some.
Oh yes, especially with the inclusion of Anax Hardened in the Forge being an excellent answer to the Deafening Clarions of the sweepers of this format. So he is missing that from hand, so hopefully he'll find that as this game progresses.
Now, one thing to note here right now as we take a look at Marcio's hand, you see the Clarion, as I mentioned, you see Teferi as well. Dream Trawler, if we can get there, is going to be really good, and Cavalier Gales can bridge the gap. Right now, Marcio's land's a little slow, but not the end of the world since he generally starts on turn number 3. But note that Marcio's on the draw this game as opposed to being on the play, so he sends that one back. This is a little bit better. This has got a little bit higher upside, so I like the mulligan there for Marcio. You've got a Clarion still, you've got Fires of Invention, and you got a beautiful payoff there in Cavalier Flames.
Oh yes, very much want to see that Cavalier Flames down on the battlefield if you are Marcio. Scorch Spitter get things started here, and Steam Vents off the top of the library. Temple of Triumph will get the Scry. That's a Shimmer of Possibility. Another way that this deck has to just filter through the library, find the key cards that you need to get going, and just run away with this game. Run over Seth Manfield and his little red knuckleheads.
Yeah, Marcio's going to send that one to the bottom. Light up the stage, a pretty interesting draw here. I'm curious to see if Seth wants to play Steamkin or do the light up the stage, but he's going to go with the 1/1. Here comes the Scorch Spitter. Little ting there, ting here. We head back to Marcio.
There's Dream Trawler off the top of the library. So this is one of the notable differences between this Jeskai list and Nassif's. It has the Dream Trawler. It's got the incidental life gain. It has ways to just take over the game if it goes unanswered. So he's going to be working towards that. Teferi Time Raveler on the top of the library, and also a very good way to just out-tempo the opponent, get crucial cards off the battlefield, such as the Runaway Steamkin.
Now, where do we go for Seth here? Now, there is the ability. It's possible to get Steamkin up into a 4/4 this turn. You attack, you trigger light up the stage, that'll give you a counter, make it a 2/2, and then if you have 2 other 1-drops off light up the stage, they can turn it into a 4/4 and survive the Deafening Clarion. But note that Marcio did put Teferi on top of his deck, so if things go that way, then we could see Marcio play Teferi and bounce the Steamkin. Seth has got to think about some things this turn with regard to Deafening Clarion, because Marcio's only playing 3 copies, and you would expect your opponent to maybe mulligan for one of those in game number 1. We all know, as we're watching here, that Marcio does have one of those, so looks like Seth is going to go towards Stomp. Next is Stage. Let's see what we reveal here.
Embercleave, Rubber the Rich.
Okay.
Swinging in here for 4 points of damage. The extra point as well coming from Scorch Spitter, and there is Teferi off the top of the library, as we saw.
So now Marcio, because this mana base is a little bit painful, he's got to pay some life to be able to play Clarion this turn. He's down to 9 right now.
There's the Anax Hardened in the Forge that we were talking about.
Yeah, a little late to this party.
It's okay. He's there to pick up the pieces. He's like, I'm sorry, my brothers, you have fallen, but don't worry, because I will create more satyrs when I eventually kick the bucket too.
Now, this is an interesting question on where we do go in this particular turn. If you're Seth, your Embercleave is going to go bye-bye via the light up the stage, so you don't have to worry about that one. Robber the Rich over there, well, you can cast that this turn, but you're not maximizing your mana if you do that. So do you want to play a Bone Crusher Giant from Exile? Do you want to play an Anax that you just drew? And you've already got an Embercleave in your hand, so the one that's going away from the light up the stage, not the end of the world.
Yeah. Might be a consideration here to get Robber the Rich going, just to, you know, mess with Marcio Carvalho's draws a little bit here. Maybe steal something crucial.
Yeah, and right now...
It's always fun stealing an opposing Teferi.
Yeah, I mean, this card has such a high ceiling. It's been a breakout card this weekend. Trigger Island.
Oh, that would have been a great thing to steal, but that island just got in the way.
Let's see. Dream Trawler was the draw. Marcio's turn, it feels like he's going to go towards Teferi.
Yeah, I don't think he wants to smack himself in the face too many times more with the shock lands. So let's just get this Robber of the Rich out the way. Play a bit of a tempo game here. Find a Sphinx of Foresight off the top of the library. Next turn, he can go Fires of Invention and start getting some of his heavy hitters down.
So Robber in combination with Rimrock Knight, that'll be 4 points of damage. You can knock Marcio down to 3 this turn, and then you've got Bone Crusher in hand to knock your opponent down to 1, which is naturally not 0. So Seth, a little bit to think about this turn once again. Marcio, what he's trying to set up on his side of things, the reason that you saw him play Teferi land tapped is he's looking for land number 5 so that he can play Fires and then play Cavalier Flame in the same turn and get himself closer to playing a Dream Trawler. That's pretty much the plan here. Once Dream Trawler's on the battlefield, it's more or less going to stabilize the game, and then it's extremely hard for Seth to win. So Seth needs to try to win over the next 2 turns, in my estimation, because if Dream Trawler does show up on time, it's almost impossible for Seth to win. Ember Cleave can maybe save you, but it's tough.
Well, I believe in the cleave, as I'm sure chat does, so let's see if we can get to the point where we can play that. Rob of the Rich down first. Here we go with the Boulder Dash, Boulder Rush, and we're gonna swing in for 4 points of damage. Let's take Marcio down to 3. What do we steal at the top? That's a Kenrith, the Return King.
It's a big draw here for Marcio.
Ooh.
Big draw. I think he wants a land.
A land, yeah, found a land.
Really, really big draw there for Marcio because Fires plus Cavalier or Fires plus Sphinx, those are all in play now as far as options are concerned.
So first things first, let's get Fires down, play the Sacred Foundry untapped.
Oh, that's
tapped.
Sorry,
tapped. Doesn't matter. Yeah, that's tapped.
No. He is not going to
No
one.
smacky. Getting that in tapped, and Cavalier Flame is available.
And what Cavalier does here, so these two cards, I don't want to call them the same, but what they're going to do is they're going to allow Marcio to get closer to finding land drop number 6. Either Sphinx of Foresight will allow you to scry, or Cavalier Flame will say, hey, you can ditch some cards and ideally find a land, but you can't play it this turn. So Marcio's thinking, do I want to go to Sphinx? Because there is also the potential for Cavalier plus Dream Trawler all in the same turn.
Yeah, that would be very, very big. Getting him for that hasty swing. Robert the Rich does have reach, but you know, it's just the life gain that we're trying to get here.
Yeah, Marcio just wants to pull himself up from 3 to anything, you know, 5,
that's not
5
close
life,
to 0.
6 life. Yeah, and then he's okay. Then he's okay. Now, Seth's draw step there, Runaway Steamkin, not the ideal draw step this turn. And I think Seth is in some serious trouble now. You see the Bone Crusher Giant in his hand, and more importantly, that's a copy of Stomp. Stomp brings Marcio down, from 3 to 1. But I think we have to see an Annex turn. And now, if you're Marcio, you are looking for land number 6.
All right.
You're looking for a Cavalier plus Dream Trawler turn. And if he finds that, he's probably up a game.
Needs to get another land down on the battlefield, though, to get Dream Trawler down. So I think Teferi is going to... it's a hard decision there. But Teferi going down to the bottom. Can he draw land? That's an Aether Gust, so that keeps the attackers at bay just a little bit here. So.
Interesting little one there. So Teferi going up, that's the easy part for the turn. Here comes Cavalier. Now, how many cards does he want to discard here to Cavalier?
Possibly just the one. We have a Dream Trawler. It's pretty good just by itself. In pairs, it's great, but Fire's unconventional, so not what he wanted to find.
Okay, well, he's got a nice consolation prize here in Aether Gust, which he can play.
Yeah, he has to do it this turn because Fire's Invention does shut it off on the opponent's turn, so looks like he wants to get swinging. Sure, I like it. Go.
Okay, so two activations. Send in Cavalier Flame. Looks like he's going to leave Sphinx of Force. Okay, looks like Sphinx might be coming in. This is interesting. Does he want to actually attack with anything? Again, he is at 3. He's playing against a red deck that doesn't have very much reach. It just has Stomp. So Marcio is clicking back and forth about what to attack with. Very hard decision right now.
Because he's probably thinking, all right, what do I die to? I die to a hasty creature and a Stomp, for example. So.
Yeah, like something like a Fervent Champion. Ooh, Scorch Bitter's a 1-drop, but that one does not really have
the 1-drop
haste.
he wanted.
Yes.
I was hoping for a Fervent Champion there because then he could close out this game easy peasy.
Yeah, Marcio got a little bit risky there. But in taking that risk, that means he's one step closer to closing out this game. Again, he's still looking for land number 6 for the Dream Trawler. He can give that haste with Cavalier Flame, and then once he's able to gain a little bit of life, he's going to be okay. So it looks like just a Steamkin and a Scorch Bitter. Seth is hoping that Dream Trawler does not show up this turn.
Well, let's see. This land, or this next draw is going to determine it all. We do have a Sphinx on the battlefield, so we'll scry. That's another Sphinx. Does he want to get extra blockers down that's available, or does he want to risk it and try and find land number 6?
It's really tough. You know, I mean, he's going back and forth again. I think he's trying to maximize, trying to hit here on land 6. Okay, another Cavalier Flame. But that gives you a redraw because you can send away the Fire's Invention. Also, you can plus with your Teferi bounce something, and that gives you another card here. So he's got a couple shots at finding land number 6 for the Dream Trawler.
So it's Teferi -3. Which target does he go for? Is it the Runaway Steamkin or the Robber of the Rich? I mean, perhaps even Scorch Bitter. If he finds a Torbrand off the top, he's just dead to the Scorch Bitter.
Yeah, that's a very, very good point. Now, you would need another land to be able to cast that as well. So I think we're going to see Runaway Steamkin send back. There's a Cavalier of Gales. Okay.
So here comes Cavalier Flame. He's got multiple things to ditch. Or is it Cavalier of Gales? Okay, let's see. Land. All we need is land. Easy peasy.
There we go.
Just
You
the
saw
card
a little.
That brings you 3 cards.
You saw a little bit of a reaction there from Marcio saying, finally, I found my land.
All right,
There's
there
a
you
temple.
go.
Now he can play either Kenrith or Dream Trawler. They're all
Is he just
beautiful.
dead in the air to three flyers?
Well, if he's not dead, he's going to certainly gain a lot of life. So this
he's
might
very
be
dead.
lethal.
He's very dead.
Yep.
All right, so Marcio Carvalho picking up the first win here against Seth Manfield. These 3 flyers going unanswered, gaining a bunch of life. Everybody swinging on in. He picks up the first game in spectacular fashion.
Took him a long time to find that 6th land for Marcio, but now he's able to attack with all these creatures, and this is what Fires of Inventions does. This is what Jeskai Fires does. Now, we'll take a look here. Seth does have Robber the Rich. He can block here. So we take a look.
Oh,
it
no,
looks
there
like
we
it's going to be
go. It's
12 damage
12.
across.
You forget.
So it's not exactly lethal, but more importantly, Dream Trawler is going to gain life. Going to gain a bunch of life here in this instance. Going to go up to 9. Seth's battlefield is clear. There's not a draw on Seth's deck that he can actually find to win the game here. So this game is more or less effectively over. Seth with a bit of a disappointed head nod there, because had he drawn Fervent Champion the last turn, he would have been able to attack for lethal in combination with Stomp. But either way, game 1 to Marcio.
Yeah, Marcio, congratulations to him. So going to sideboard times, let's find out what our players are doing in this matchup. Just remember, this is the lower finals. Both of these players are competing to join Paolo Vitor Damo de Rosa in the finals. But, you know, for whoever loses this match, it's still not really a bad weekend's work. $100,000 for third place, $150,000 for second. But, of course, there is the $300,000 prize for first.
The biggest Magic tournament of all time, and these two players are going to start sending haymakers back and forth. Thus far, Marcio has landed the best punch through one game, but we've got best 2 out of 3 matches here. And Marcio's going to the drawing board here, looking at the Dream Trawlers that he does have in his deck. Cavalier Gales, it looks like it's headed to the bench, at least 1 copy. But I mentioned that this thing gets more difficult for Seth, and the reason for that is because Marcio's got some pretty nice options. Something as simple as Tithe Taker means that it gives them a creature that can block not once, but twice. We saw Nassif boarded Elspeth Conquers Death. We could see Marcio do the same thing here. We also know that he has a Shatter the Sky, which he could bring in. So he's actually got some options. Aether Guster main deck has an additional one in the sideboard. Justice Strike, also an option. So Marcio has very clearly come prepared to attack Mono Red, and he's up a game. So things are kind of going according to plan, at least for now.
All right, let's take a look at the opening hands here in game number 2. Marcio Carvalho up a game against Seth Manfield. Decent looking hand. We've got some interaction, Aether Gust, Deafening Clarion, and we've got one of our big hitters in the Cavalier of Flame. Fervent Champion down on the battlefield, swinging in for 1 point of damage, Hallowed Fountain off the top.
Decent enough start here for Seth. Couple of lands, Rimrock Knight, maybe more importantly Boulder Rush, but that combination of cards is pretty nice. Devout Decree, which is a card from Marcio's sideboard, shows just how serious he's taking red here this weekend.
Rimrock Knight joins Fervent Champion on the battlefield, who swings in for yet another point of damage. Devout Decree off the sideboard and off the top of the library. Gonna come in handy here for Marcio Carvalho, just to keep these creatures at bay. Mountain off the top there for Seth. Things aren't looking very good for him. He might be flooding a little bit. Wants to find some action.
This game isn't ideal for Seth right now. I'm curious to see if we're going to see a Boulder Rush here or not, and then play Rimrock post-combat. I mean, Seth's hand is... Clearly, there's a lot of lands over there, so he doesn't really have the ability to play around a Deafening Clarion all that well right now, and how hard does he want to shove in this instance? We'll see. Seth has done such a nice job of kind of walking the tightrope about when to really deploy and when to hold back all weekend long.
Yeah, so Marcio opting to take the damage there. Could have Aether Gusted away one of the creatures, but he does have Clarion in hand, so if Seth does commit more to the battlefield, then that's an easy board wipe.
Manfield thinking about this Rimrock Knight, thinking about just playing a Mountain as well. Got 2 copies of Castle Embereth and a Mountain in hand.
All right.
So now he's just going to play the Rimrock Knight. So what's interesting here is you could say, well, he had the opportunity to Boulder Rush. Why didn't he? Well, because if Aether Gust targets the creature that would have been Boulder Rush, then Rimrock Knight is gone for good. And I think Seth here was just, he's really hoping that there is no Deafening Clarion, but I'm afraid I've got some bad news.
Yep, unfortunately for Seth, there go his creatures. So he is left with a hand of land, because that is another land off the top of the library. So he needs to find something. And he needs to find it soon, because the longer this game goes, the better it is for Marcio.
Now, Marcio's going to have the opportunity to play Teferi. Teferi not doing anything particularly special on this battlefield right now, so Marcio's just going to plus it. And if you're Marcio, you might be thinking to yourself, what can my opponent have in hand right now, because they're not doing anything? Embercleave potentially, or my opponent is just flooding out. So he's going to play the game accordingly as Seth plays his 5th land, something you never want to do if you're mono red.
Oh no, you want this game over by turn, by turn number 4.
You would love to stop at 4 mana in a lot of instances. It is rare that the 5th land is what you're looking for, and I can promise you land 6 and land 7, like Seth has in hand, is not ideal. So for Marcio, the only thing he's missing for this puzzle, at least at this moment, and it's not necessary, but it would make things easier, is just a copy of Fires of Invention. But Marcio, who again took the red matchup very seriously coming in, and you can see that with his configuration after sideboard, he's got to be feeling exquisite about this game.
Things are going very, very well for Marcio indeed. He just needs to wrap up one more victory here, and then we go to match number 2. Cavalier of Gales is going to make its way onto the battlefield. We're going to draw a few cards, send some back. Let's see what he finds. Fabled Passage, another Sphinx, and another Cavalier of Flames.
So with this, as Marcio's going to put, looks like a couple of lands back, Fabled Passage will be the draw next turn. What Marcio has to do this game is he just has to play a normal game of Magic. Now, fortunately for him, he's got these really, really big creatures. As Marcio is saying, good game because you are flooding out badly, and my hand is the proverbial nuts right now.
Oh, boy. Yeah, that's very unfortunate for Seth Manfield. Teferi now going to send Scorch Spitter back to hand and just run away with the game here with this Cavalier of Gales, along with Cavalier of Flame and another Sphinx of Foresight in hand.
Yeah, you see Marcio's hand is just stack loaded. He's got 2 Cavalier Flames, a Sphinx of Foresight, and then 2 cards that are really good against red in Aether Gust and Devout Decree. There's no road to victory here for Seth, and Seth is smart enough to know that. And you know what? Eventually, we'll see Marcio win this game. But more importantly, this is best 2 out of 3 matches, which is very important here in this instance. So Seth has the opportunity to just take a breath, readjust, you know, get ready for the next game that's in front of him here. Scorch Spitter's going to be replayed, Robber 2, but you see that these other creatures here in Cavalier, Flame, and Gales, they're a little better than this.
Yeah, they're quite large, these Cavaliers. So we do have a bit of a battlefield here in the Robber the Rich and the Scorch Spitter. Shatter the Sky off the top of the library, but with 2 big creatures, not sure we're going to see that happen, but Deafening Clarion is definitely an option, giving the creatures lifelink and clearing the battlefield. So here we go. Let's deal 3 damage, let's get lifelink for the creatures, and let's swing in for a bunch of damage. Seth Manfield knows the writing's on the wall, so Marcio Carvalho picks up this game.
Marcio leaning back in the chair a little bit because, look, he's 1 step away from a position he knows all too well, which could be 2nd place, but we know how badly he wants to get 1st place here this weekend. Apollo Vitor Dominarosa is still waiting in the wings, as we do know with his Azorius control deck. So now these players look like they're going to take a step and get ready here for our next match between the 2 of them. That one, if you're rooting for Jeskai Fires, that's going according to plan. Game 1, you got your Dream Trawler, you did the Fire's Invention thing. Game 2, you had Clarion for the little knuckleheads. Seth was never able to rebuild, and that's how you draw it up if you're Jeskai Fires. That's not how you do it if you're mono red and Seth Manfield, but fortunately for him, he gets to try again.
He does indeed. So don't go anywhere. We're going to go to a quick commercial break, and we'll be right back with match number 2 between these 2 players.
Gabe certainly got the ability to go Wayfarer up a land here if he wants to.
Yep.
And he does.
So his clock right now is that Lotus Bloom, right?
I would think so.
He has to gain some life and have a Wrath ready.
Yep.
For the turn that Lotus Bloom comes into play.
Now Gabe's got a Martyr in his hand, so yeah, he just put Hallowed Foundry into play untapped. Paid the 2 life in order to get the Martyr down now.
So, I mean, we keep saying Ritual.
Does he get to 9 mana off those Rituals? He does not, right?
We keep saying Ritual, but when we should say Ritual is kind of a little jargony term that people might not understand. And when we say Ritual, we mean any type of mana accelerant that costs basically where you get more mana than what you put into it as an instant. So, Rite of Flame, Seething Song are all considered rituals, and it's an homage to the original Dark Ritual.
So with that Lotus Bloom, Mahara would have been able to go up the Dragonstorm right now.
Yeah. All right, Mahara's going to go for it.
Yep. Now, what's this ritual called?
This is called Rite of Flame.
Rite of Flame.
Rite of Flame is from Cold Snap.
I know Cold Snap, but I only know the playtest name.
And what was the playtest name?
That was Kindle Ritual.
And the first one gets you 2 mana, and then each subsequent one gets you 1 more mana for each Rite of the Flame. I'm talking to the people at home.
All right.
I'm sure they know. If they're up late, they probably know. I could just say Ritual to them. But if you don't know what it is, that's
Rite of Flame.
Rite of Flame, Seething Song. Are there any other rituals? Brightstone Ritual.
Yeah. Yeah, I think the Hunted Dragons are actually lethal for Mahara. He dies to the strike back from the 2/2s.
Well, I assume he kills some of them with the Bogardan Hellkites, but then that defeats the whole purpose of getting the Hellkite. So he's kind of in a Chinese finger trap here.
Oh, interesting. Mahara's going to remand his own Rite of Flame.
Sure.
So he gets the Rite of Flame back. He does have another Martyr in the bin, so that's what he's thinking about. And he's going to Proclamate. Wow. So tapped out at 20. He's going to fall to 15 here. Mahara drew a Seething Song. What? What just happened?
He's not dead. Right? He takes... Oh, no, he is dead.
Is he?
So he takes 10 from the last 2 Hellkites, and then takes 11 from the Hellkite that's not summoning 6 and the Hunter Dragon.
He tapped out for Proclamation, and that's the game! Makahita Mahara top decks again, and Gabe Nassif finds himself wondering, why did I tap out to Proclamation there?
Magic World Championship 26, powered by Alienware. I'm Ailey Loney alongside Cedric Phillips, and we are jumping into match number 2 between Seth Manfield and Marcio Carvalho.
Oh, Marcio, Mr. Second place, but maybe for not much longer.
Maybe for not much longer.
Maybe not much longer. Marcio, man, the resume continues to grow, continues to grow. I love watching him. I'll tell you what, he had to have been thrilled when we announced that there was going to be limited for this tournament. There wasn't much, but he said, oh, yeah.
Oh, yes. He's arguably one of the best limited players in the world.
That. I'm sure he would have loved this thing to be all limited, but Constructed is suiting him just fine. Jeskai Fires his weapon of choice here. I think his build is great for the matchup, and he keeps on finding that deafening Clarion, so things are going his way, though he is on the draw here for game number 1 of match 2.
Let's get things kicked off here with Fervent Champion getting in for 1 point of damage. Hallowed Fountain off the top. As you mentioned, he's got Deafening Clarion and he's got Cavalier Flame, so he can take care of this battlefield that Seth is likely going to be assembling. He's got a lot of creatures in hand. Got 2 Steamkins, the Robber of the Rich, light up the stage, and good old Torbran, who we haven't seen so far.
Timely, actually, draw of Stomp there, and I'm curious to see if Marcio wants to go towards Hallowed Fountain Untapped and stomping the Runaway Steamkin, or if he wants to go towards a Temple. Of course, he could play Hallowed Fountain and have it on the battlefield tapped if he'd like, but he does have the option of interacting here on turn number 2.
Yeah. How important do you think it is for him to deal with a card like Robber of the Rich? Would you want to keep the Stomp for that, or is it just let's get rid of Steamkin?
Well, he doesn't know that there's a Robber of the Rich in the wings like we do. So it's important to just kind of get Steamkin off the battlefield and out of range of it potentially being a 4/4 after the turn is over. So I like that play. It comes at the cost of 2 life, of course, with a Hallowed Fountain, but just kind of keeping the battlefield small. What this also does is it causes Seth to have to play more threats anyway because his battlefield is small, and then Clarion can clean up the follow-up threats.
So light up the stage, finding 3rd land drop, and there is Runaway Steamkin. So another Bone Crusher Giant off the top here. May not want to deploy Deafening Clarion just yet, but seems he's going to go for it right away. Let's clear up both of these creatures. Stomp will stay in hand for something else later.
Yeah, Marcio doing a really nice job of just keeping the battlefield clear. Now Seth with a timely 4th land there. Now we're going to see Torbran from Exile given the light up the stage. Now Torbran has been a key card for Seth here all weekend, and it's very good in this matchup as well.
Marcio's just found a perfect answer for it too.
Yeah, so he did pick up his copy of Aether Gust, one of those hanging out in the main deck. There's actually 2 copies, pardon me, but he's found one of them. Now Marcio's going to go to the Temple. There's another one of them.
That's easy, isn't it?
I'm gonna keep that.
Mountain off the top there, so Seth finding his land drops. He's got Robber of the Rich to deploy if he wants to get some, decent damage in. I'm pretty sure we'd all love to see that Ember Cleave work its way into the equation here. But just deciding what it is he wants to do first.
Now remember that Gust is a temporary answer to a problem. It is not a permanent answer to a problem. So it looks like Marcio is going to Gust before Seth gets the opportunity to attack. So bye-bye Torbran. At least for now. Now we'll see if Seth wants to put it on the top or the bottom because he has a Torbran in his hand already.
Also prevents an Ember Cleave from getting cast, so good thing to do it then. But here's another Torbran.
Okay.
Oh, and there's another Aether Gust.
Yep, we knew that Marcio was going to draw that from the scry with the Temple. So it looks like Marcio's only lands to play are Temples and Epiphany and Triumph. So which one he wants to play will be a minor decision here for Marcio because we know he's going to play one of them. And then how does he want to go about using this other copy of Gust?
Very nice. Okay, so he's found a Deafening Clarion. This doesn't deal with good old Torbran, but it can kill any of his little friends that may pitch up.
Also nice to keep that one in the holster. It's obviously an ace in the matchup, but it's very good, of course, with the attacking creatures and gaining the life as well. So makes some sense to keep that on top at this stage of the game.
So Robber the Rich could enter the equation here, swinging in with Torbran. We, of course, know that there is an Aether Gust, so that'll keep Ember Cleave at bay here.
Marcio's hand rolled up pretty nicely here. So you've got Gust that can take care of Torbran. You've got Stomp that can take care of Robber. And then you have Cavalier that you can play, and you're drawing a copy of Deafening Clarion with 2 Bone Crushers on Adventure.
Oh, yeah. So he's doing a very good job here of just, controlling the battlefield until he finds the cards that can run away with the game for him. He's looking for his Fires of Invention, he's looking for his Cavalier Flames, possibly even a Dream Trawler just to wrap up this match.
Yeah, I think Marcio's done a really nice job of interacting at all stages of the game. The draw steps have been somewhat fortunate, but that's why you put those cards in your deck. That's part of the reason that Marcio put those main deck copies of Aether Gust in the deck. They're horrible in some matches, they're an A+ in others, and we are in A+ territory right now.
There we go. There's the Fires of Invention.
Yep.
So things are going to get a little heated in this matchup here between Seth Manfield and Marcio Carvalho, both fighting to join Paulo Vitor Damodarosa in the finals of World Championship 26. No, he's sending it to the back, so he's relying on his creatures just as they are, is he?
It's an interesting little decision here between if you want to keep Fires or not. That's why Marcio's kind of going back and forth, because I wouldn't say that it's necessary for him to win this game, but it does speed up his ability to win this game. So it looks like he is leaning towards sending it to the bottom right now, but he's not 100% sure on this decision because it's not as easy as it seems. You know, he doesn't, I wouldn't say that he needs it to win, but it does, again, make it faster and easier to win if he does have it. So it looks like he's going to keep it, play Cavalier. I would be a little surprised if he sent any cards away, because Clarion, I think, is good enough to keep, and then he knows that Fires is his draw next turn.
So Torbran on the top of the library, being Ether Gusted away, will join the battlefield once again. There's the Fires of Invention that was scried to the top. So now we'll be able to play that, and we'll be able to get a Bone Crusher Giant down and just pretty much win the creature battle.
Yeah, so his creatures now his creatures are better. Now, here, the one thing he has to concern himself with is, how do I lose this game? One of the ways to get this game stolen from you is Embercleave. So he has to think about that. So does he want to make an attack this turn? If he does, how much attacking does he want to do? He's got mana available to be able to activate Cavalier Flame, which means that Bone Crusher Giant would have haste. And does he want to attack with both creatures, one creature, or no creature? Because the next turn is going to be fantastic for him. He gets to play Bone Crusher and Deafening Clarion in the same turn. So how aggressive does he want to get this turn? It looks like at least a little with Bone Crusher Giant.
Yeah, let's not get Embercleaved out of nowhere. As we can see, there is two Embercleaves in hand there for Seth Manfield, but no lethal just yet if both creatures had gone in for a swing there. That's a mountain off the top of the library. So Torbran's just hanging out by himself. Hopefully getting some friends soon. Bet Seth Manfield's hoping for it. But Torbran swinging on in, fearless. Does the Cavalier block?
So Torbran wearing a Cleave makes it a 3-power creature. You're going to get double strike there, so that's 6, and you add a little bit on top of that because of Torbran's static, so you can deal 10 this turn by my math.
If there was a Rimrock Knight in hand, this would be a very interesting turn.
Yeah. It'll be 5 twice.
So Embercleave swinging on in, 10 points of damage to Marcio, takes him down to 3. Castle Vantress off the top of the library. Can he get the game over and done with right here, right now?
Yeah, we should be all done here. So you play your Bone Crusher Giant, you play Clarion, you can give all of your creature lifelink, but you also don't really need to do anything else because you can just activate Cavalier, if not once or twice, how about thrice?
Just, you know, keep it going, and then we'll just Deafening Clarion because reasons. Swinging on in, there we go. Marcio Carvalho picking up a very, very decisive victory. He is one step closer to joining Paulo in the finals. He just needs to pick up one more game in the second match.
You're seeing the deck building differences right now between Carvalho's deck and Nassif's deck that Seth just dispatched last round. Nassif was not as prepared for the mono-red matchup as Marcio is. Those main deck copies of Aether Gust really do highlight that, and now Marcio is able to bring in even more cards. Justice Strike is already working itself in. Elspeth Conqueror's Death could be an option. Looks like it's not going to be again. Tide Taker, same conversation. But Marcio has just done a really nice job of preparing himself to play against this deck. Again, Aether Gust is the kind of card where when it's good, it's an A+, and when it's bad, it's really, really bad. And this is one of those matchups where it's an A+. He loves drawing it, drew 2 that game, made it easy.
Let's take a look at the opening hands here. If Marcio can win this, he is going on through. Teferi Time Raveler, Aether Gust, and Cavalier Flame. So early interaction, he's got a decent mana base, he's got a couple of scries. This looks pretty good.
Where Seth's hand, it's not your favorite, but this is the kind of hand that you can keep because you're on the play. If you were on the draw, I wouldn't love this hand that much, but Seth knows that his Scorch Spitter is going to get in. You're playing against a deck that doesn't have 1 mana interaction, so that means that you're going to get to turn on Spectacle for Light at the stage. So, you know, he's got to get a little lucky with the Light Up stage, but what better time than now?
Yep, let's get lucky. Scorch Spitter in, getting the 2 points of damage through. Light at the stage. What do we find off the top of the library? It's a Auburn and a Lurker. Oh,
no.
I think you cursed him, Cedric. Whoops.
Oh, no.
It's okay. He's got another one. This is fine.
Yeah,
but maybe not because
I'm not sure that Light at the stage is ever going to get cast. Seth needs to peel off a land next turn.
He
real bad.
Sure does.
Okay.
Oh, it's a land.
Okay.
Castle Ambreth. Here we go. Aether Gust. You can see Marcio's intent, he really wants to send something back, whether it be Scorch Spitter or anything else that might join the battlefield before attacks.
With Exile there from the Light Up the Stage, Robber the Rich and Unchained Berserker are 2 cards that Seth can play now because he drew a copy of Castle Embreth. Scorch Spitter, I think you're headed to the bottom of the deck. We'll see what Seth wants to do here in just a moment, because you can see Seth's hand is pretty expensive with Annex, Chandra, so he wants land up to 3. And here's Unchained Berserker, number 1.
Yes. Unchained Berserker is a pretty good card in this matchup, protection from white, so can't die to the Deafening Clarion, can't be targeted by Teferi. Can be Ether Gusted, but none of that to worry about in Marcio's hand right now. So he's just deciding what his next play wants to be, if he wants to just get Hell of Fountain in, or if he's going for the Vantress, get Teferi down, and yeah, start ticking.
Now, I'll tell you what, even though Seth missed his land drop on the 2nd turn of the game, he found it on the 3rd turn, and if he draws a land here, okay.
There we go.
We have a game of Magic to be played
You
here.
unjinxed him. Good job.
Yeah, it's all me. It's not nothing to do with him. Chandra is a fantastic play. We can finish off Teferi this turn if we want to. And you see Marcio, he's shaking his head a little bit because runner, nothing funner. Seth is back in this game.
He is indeed. Here we go. 3 creatures, 5 power. They're going straight to Teferi Time Reveler, getting him off the battlefield and making Marcio's life a little bit more difficult. Deafening Clarion. Okay, so that doesn't do much at the moment, but Bone Crusher Giant, yeah, that's an option for him.
So Clarion is in a weird spot in this particular game because this is one of those games where it's fine and it might end up actually being good, but it's not good now.
No, it's pretty bad now.
and if you're Seth, now how frisky do you want to get? Because
Embercleave, come on.
that's an option.
Yeah, please.
But you're playing against a opponent that's got a lot of mana available, but you know, putting Embercleave on an Unchained Berserker, that's really
pretty
attractive.
Good. That is pretty good. Come on, you know you want to, Seth. Do it for us. We believe in the cleave.
Seth has to concern himself with Stomp from Bone Crusher Giant, another copy of Ether Gust. There are some real considerations, and Marcio did nothing on his 4th turn. He's going to play it safe, and I think we might just see him go towards Light Up the Stage. Let's see what the spectacle and the 2 cards are. This is crucial. Okay, that's beautiful.
Cool,
so you get to play both those cards right away. You still have Annex in the holster in your hand, so that's a really nice and favorable reveal to Light Up the Stage. This is a game in which Seth missed his 2nd land, and he might win this one running away.
I'm feeling good about this one. I think we're going to see an Embercleave, so fingers crossed. Unchained Berserker is going to meet its demise to a Stomp. We do get another creature off of Annex, Hardened in the Forge. And then we're going to get a Bone Crusher Giant. Marcio's down to 9. All right, so we've got 4 attackers next turn. This turn. Got more land. We've got an Embercleave. Do we have a victory for Seth Manfield? Let's
Equip
see.
it up.
Let's see.
Chop
Stick
him
it
down.
He knows.
Chop him down, Big Seth. Chop him down.
All
the 2nd land drop doesn't even matter.
Doesn't matter. Mono Red doesn't need land. Psh. Seth Manfield picking up the victory there, making it a little bit more difficult for Marcio to wrap things up and make his way on through to the finals. So we are in for game number 3 in match number 2.
Timely. Seth loses that game, tournament over. Huge comeback. Can you imagine keeping a 1-lander there? You hit with your Scorch Spitter, you play Light Up the Stage, you miss on both of those reveals, and you might be thinking to myself, really? Tournament over now? Not quite yet.
Calculated,
the former world champion.
Calculated risk. Very, very good keep, as it turns out. Let's take a look at the opening hands here. We've got Devout Decree, Ether Gust, and a Deafening Clarion. So all the nopes for Marcio. Let's get the Temple of Triumph down, get Scryan, and see what's on top of the library. Bone Crusher Giant, another very good card for him too.
Marcio has a ton of interaction, but no payoffs just yet. Doesn't have fires, doesn't have a Cavalier, none of that stuff. But as far as kind of delaying this game with interaction, he's got plenty of that.
Oh, yes. Oh, yes. So he can keep his face safe for a few turns with those key cards. Annex, Hardened in the Forge is the draw there for Seth Manfield. 2-drop coming on in as Rimrock Knight. Marcio is going to go and find a land out of his library.
Remember, this land's going to enter the battlefield tap, Fabled Passage, not one of those fetch lands that we're all used to seeing in Magic. So that means he can't fire off Stomp just yet. Looks like Hollow Fountain's going to enter the battlefield. He's thinking tapped, so this does give him plenty of 2-mana interaction that he has access to.
Yeah, Stomp, Ether Gust, or Devout Decree, depending what he wants to do. Unchained Berserker is the card off the top of the library there for Seth.
This is where it gets fun. If you're an aggressive player playing against a deck that has a lot of reactive permission, because now you have to walk the tightrope and you got to get every decision right. So first things first, am I playing Rimrock Knight? Excuse me, am I attacking with Rimrock Knight first? That's a mouthful. Or am I playing Chandra and then activating. So he says, you know what? I'm going to attack first. Okay, you're going to interact with that. Bone Crusher Giant looks like it's going to kill that. Okay, now what do I want to do post-combat? Do I want to hardcast Bone Crusher? Do I want to go towards Annex? Do I want to go to Chandra? We're going to go with the legendary Demigod.
Let's get that down on the battlefield, and if anything were to die, he will generate the Satyrs. So at least he has some protection against the Deafening Clarion. Fabled Passage being cracked. We're going to go find another source from the library. Now, Sphinx of Foresight is available if he wants to get that out. It's a pretty good blocker against Annex for now. Devout Decree, though, is the play. Let's get Annex into exile, so no creatures being generated off of that, and Fairy Time Ravelers on the top of the library. I want to keep that.
So that's more interaction here for Marcio. You see he's going to take a look at the battlefield, and we can do the same. It's pretty clear right now for Marcio, so he feels like he doesn't need to Fairy. He has access to Gust, as you mentioned, and we head back over to Seth.
He's got a few options now, finding his lands. He could get Chandra going. Perhaps there's also a very good answer to any board wipes because you just keep generating 2 1/1s every single turn. So looks like that's going to be the play, but Aether Gust will dismiss of it. Back to the top of the library or to the bottom. Let's see what Seth decides.
Yeah, this one's tough, actually, because this is a pretty good card in the matchup. We saw that in the last game, and we saw it against Nassif as well. So it looks like he's going to keep that. Nothing else to do this turn. Now, Marcio, I will say, and now he is flooding out. Temples are good cards to flood out with as far as lands are concerned. And now Cavalier of Flame on top of the deck means that he's got something really nice to do next turn.
Oh, yes, indeed. Chandra Acolyte of Flame back in hand here for Seth. Could redeploy that, or does he want to start getting a few creatures down on the battlefield?
Yeah, a little interesting here because you can go to Annex and you can leave up either Stomp or go to Unchained Berserker. I'm totally fine with doing this. Let's get some things on the battlefield. He is a creature-based deck after all. He's not one of those burn-style mono-red decks that we've seen in the past. So he's got to actually start to get a critical mass onto the battlefield.
Cavalier of Flame off the top. We do have Deafening Clarion 2. So can't do both, unfortunately. Not finding fires would be ideal for Marcio if he did have that on the battlefield already. But, you know, he's still holding his own in this matchup. He's keeping control of the battlefield. He's establishing a very big board of creatures, and it's going to get more and more difficult for Seth to deal with these.
Yeah, Cavalier, you know, you'd love to have Cavalier in combination with Fires, of course, to be able to give your creatures haste and do everything that Cavalier can do when everything's going right. But for now, he's just going to deploy the powerful red creature. Will he discard the Temple? I'd be surprised if he discards the Deafening Clarion, and he won't. And
there we go.
Fire.
There's the Fires of Invention.
So this is interesting. Kind of like last game, does he actually need this card? His answer is no, because he does have 6 mana. He can play Bone Crusher Giant and Deafening Clarion in the same turn. He's got plenty of options, so he doesn't need Fires, which is actually, weirdly, probably going to restrict him right now more than actually help him.
Decision here about the attackers. Does he feel safe enough to get 4 points of damage into the air? The answer is yes. Seth Manfield goes down to 16. Wants to draw off the top of the library. It's another Annex. All right, so we've seen this cool trick that a lot of players have utilized this weekend where they play a second Annex and then get 4 creatures off of them, which is kind of cool.
It is pretty cool. Unfortunately for Seth, it's not the right time for that trick. But the question is, does he know that? Because we see the Deafening Clarion in hand right now for Marcio, so he'd love to see that neat little trick take place because life would be very good for him. He'd be able to sweep away just about everything if that does take place. So Seth's got to think long and hard here about how do I actually get myself back into this game? How do I catch back up? What could Marcio have in his hand? He hasn't played a Clarion yet. I know he's got 4 after sideboard, and I know he's got Bone Crusher Giant in exile, and he's scryed the top card.
I like this attack here because if the Cavalier of Flame blocks, he can get rid of it with Bone Crusher Giant's Stomp. So let's see if Marcio wants to tender a block, knowing that that's a possibility.
Now, Marcio's sitting at a pretty healthy 20, so I don't think he needs to tender a block. His life total's high, and he has the ability to gain a whole bunch back. Yes, Embercleave could have showed up on that turn, but Embercleave wouldn't have been lethal, I don't think. So Marcio says, you know what? I'll take the damage. Let's see what happens, and it's not too bad.
All right, here we go. Double Annex. Double Satyrs. Let's get some critters on the battlefield. All right, so now we're employing the go wide strategy, which works really well for the red decks, especially if you can chuck in a combat trick like Embercleave. I call it a combat trick, but it's more just like, you know, death on a stick.
Yeah, but this is the last thing I think that Seth wants to see.
Deafening Clarion is going to deal, a tragic devastation to this battlefield, but the Unchained Berserker will stay alive. Annex is going to die. And
ooh, Marcio's feeling good.
He's getting feisty. And he's going to get a bunch of life here with his creatures, too. So
he's doing his best canister impersonation. Get those emotes ready.
Oh, but also Bone Crusher Giant's still available, so he can get rid of one of these creatures. So Cavalier of Flame is probably going to die here.
So look, it's not over yet.
No, not by a long shot. So both players doing a very good job of keeping each other's creatures in check. We will get at least 4 life here from Marcio, just depending on what Seth Manfield wants to target here with Stomp. And we still have 2 critters on the battlefield, and we've seen Mono Red do pretty well with 2 critters. So.
For Marcio, you're feeling so good about this. You just resolved the Clarion, both sides of it. You know you're only 1 game win away from going to Battle Hollow for that $300,000, but you're not there just yet.
So there we go. Cavalier Flame is now going to kick the bucket, going to deal 2 points of damage. Bird gets in for 4, goes back up to 20, and Bone Crusher Giant in the second main phase.
And you take a look at Marcio's hand. Okay.
Hello.
All right.
Can you tell I like Embercleave?
I can tell. This game is not over.
Okay. No, wait. All right. So Chandra, make 2 little knuckleheads. Embercleave on the biggest thing, which will be Unchained Berserker. It's not a lot of damage, but it's still fun, right?
And what we're looking at here is we're looking at Marcio with a land in hand. Nothing else going on.
Nope.
And his attack next turn would be for 8, which would put Seth down to 2. 2 is obviously not lethal. So Chandra's where Seth is going to start. Embercleave was, I think, the best draw on Seth's deck for this turn.
Oh, yeah.
Well,
oh, I love it. Here we go. Let's go. Believe in the cleave. Let's go. Are we going to see it?
Now, where do we put the cleave?
The Unchained Berserker, I'm hoping.
That's the question, because do you want to? You can finish off Bone Crusher, and that significantly slows down Marcio's clock by making that exchange. And you see Marcio, he's shaking his head. He's going, how is this game getting away from me? How is this game getting away from me? I just Clarioned you last turn. How is this game getting away from me right now?
Oh, goodness. Those little 1/1s are the best.
That's not what the doctor ordered. What's the next card?
What you got there? Oh, Steam Vents, too. You can see the frustration on his face. He needs something here because Seth Manfield is going to run away with this with an Embercleave on the battlefield. Chandra generating 2 creatures. An Unchained Berserker just causing havoc for any of his white cards.
So now where do we go? Sphinx, are you hanging back on defense? Are you going on offense? If you are you going to Chandra, or are you going to Seth's face and trying to win a race that I'm not convinced Marcio can win? But if he starts to go towards Seth's face, you say, okay, 10-6, 6-2. If I draw Bone Crusher Giant, you're dead. Do I want to play the game that way, or do I want to take the turn off and get Chandra off the battlefield? Because that card's starting to cause some serious problems here.
Looks like he's going to go
Looks like face
is the place. I am very nervous. Okay, all right. Woosah, it's fine.
Face is the place.
Face is the place. Down to 6. What does he draw off the top?
Oh,
it's a Torbran.
Okay.
Ooh, okay. This is very, very painful.
So,
I don't know if it's lethal, but it's very painful.
So we don't have the ability to play Torbran and equip Unchained Berserker in the same turn. We've got Chandra, but let's see if Chandra makes some creatures.
Yeah.
So that's going to be 3, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. You can get Marcio down to 3, I think, this turn.
Yeah.
But I do not believe has the ability to equip as well.
If there was a Fervent Champion, easy peasy. 0 equip cost, pretty much.
Okay, so here you come. So now what Seth is doing is saying, I'm presenting lethal next turn. Marcio, if he's able to draw Bone Crusher Giant this turn, he wins the game. That is not what we're looking for.
All right, here it goes. What you find? What is it? Draw.
Oh, my goodness. No!
God, Lance. Get good.
We are going to the next one.
We're going to the next one. Woo! All right, so Seth Manfield hanging on in there. Going to match number 3 between Marcio Carvalho and Seth Manfield. Both players are giving it their all in this matchup. What an excellent series of games so far.
You think about the hand that he kept there. Gust, About Decree, Clarion, all these ways to interact. Was able to clear on an entire battlefield away, had Sphinx, had Bone Crusher Giant, had Cavalier Flame. You could say everything was going according to plan. Put fires on the bottom, didn't need it, but he needed another spell. And what he needed on that last turn was Bone Crusher Giant. Didn't find any of it. And it's fitting. Of course we're going to watch a third match. Of course we are, between these two awesome people.
It's all scripted, people.
Yeah, something like that, that's for sure. Unbelievable magic so far.
All right, we have way more magic to come after this short break, so don't go anywhere. Match number 3 between Marcio Carvalho and Seth Manfield. Coming right up.
Wow, we are actually underway here in game number 2. Wow, these guys are playing very quickly. Hello. Lightning Strike is going to take down a Dauntless bodyguard.
Has to be done in the main phase because the Tide Taker would cost 3 on his opponent's turn. Get to Lava Runner holding off Tide Taker.
Benalish Marshall is going to say, actually, let's not hold back anything. Tide Taker into the red zone for Mengucci. Ooh, he doesn't like that attack. Look at him.
Look at this hand. 3 Wizard's Lightning, and he has a Wizard out. So they basically Lightning Bolt. 3 copies of Lightning Bolt.
I don't know if you saw that, but Mengucci, I think he regretted that attack. He didn't like it. He shook his head after he did it. No cards in hand for Glogowski, so there's no threat on the other side. You know, all the information is known for Mengucci. He just needs to decide what he feels like his best mode of attack is, and it looks like it's going to be Venerated Loxodon, just trading off.
A solid block there. Double block, you only lose one of your creature. Trade 1 for 1.
But it is getting worse and worse for Pyotr Glogowski because Andrea Mengucci just resolved History of Benalia. He's got another one in his hand, plus Unbreakable Formation. And over the course of the next few turns, he is going to be able to dominate this board. And I think he's going to win the Mythic Invitational here, David.
Fanatical Firebring can take out the Vampire to keep him from attacking and triggering Legion's Landing, or casting another Venerated Loxodon.
Conclave Tribunal was the draw step now for Mengucci. He can actually cast that this turn if he really wants.
Chain Whirler, he wanted that a lot.
Oh, Goblin Chain Whirler, too little, too late.
It's still pretty good because the Night tokens become 4/3. You can block one of the Night tokens and we'll have first strike.
I mean, Unbreakable Formation, anybody?
Yeah.
Who's into that?
I think if he casts Unbreakable Formation here, it's all but over.
It's
going to have to block
done.
with all his creatures. None of his creatures are going to live.
No, and look at this, a huge Unbreakable Formation. Bang, 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 bang. Everything into the red zone. No profitable blocks here.
Yeah, he's got to block
for Glogowski.
All the 5s. This right here is lethal. He could. Oh. 1 token has Summoning Sickness.
That's right. He's down to 3, facing down a huge board state, and there are no cards in mono red. They can get Pyotr Glogowski back. This was Andrea Mengucci's day. He has not taken a loss today, absolutely crushing his opponents all the way through the top 4. He did not lose a single time. Keep your eye on Andrea Mengucci. He knows that he is on the verge of winning. It's a pass back. All he has to do is click attack with all of his creatures, and we will have our Mythic Invitational winner. It is Andrea Mengucci. Congratulations, Andrea. You are the winner of $250,000 and the Mythic Invitational.
Well played all week. All week, well played by Andrea Mengucci.
Welcome back to coverage of World Championship 26, powered by Alienware. It's the final day of the World Championship. That means you only have one more day to purchase the newest Secret Lair drop, Theros Stargazing, available at secretlair.wizards.com. Those are really awesome.
Yeah, there's some cool, new constellation frame versions of the old Theros gods.
Right.
I think are really neat.
Really, really pretty stuff. Well, oh my gosh, match number 3.
Oh yeah.
Like, we are gonna keep you on the edge of your seats all day here, you know?
Wouldn't have it any other way.
Absolutely, that was just some wild stuff. I mean,
that last game in particular, we saw Marcio even fiddling with the good game emote when he cast that Deafening Clarion, but ends up getting the stomp from Bonecrusher Giant, taking out his Cavalier, and then can't race. The cleave comes through.
I know, my friend texted me just, these games! And I'm like, you're not wrong, it's been incredible, So thank you so much for being along for the ride as we work our way to the finals. Why don't we take a look at our first match, though, because we are forcing a match 3 here in our lower finals. Let's take a look at what happened in match number 1.
I mean, this overall has just been a fantastic series between these two players.
Absolutely.
The removal effects from Marcio Carvalho's deck were able to get him a foothold, and especially just the hasty flyers we see coming and finish things off in this particular game. Cavalier plus Sphinx plus Dream Trawler. Even with the reach.
Look at this!
Well, even with the reach that everyone including me, always forgets on Robber of the Rich. This is, not lethal damage, but enough that it closes things out. The life gain from the Dream Trawler there, huge, closes the door on Seth Manfield. And, Marcio must be feeling good after this first one. We saw how good he was feeling after the second one, too, or almost after the second one. then things turned around.
All right, let's take a look at what happens here. And we talked about how critical this card is in this matchup. Deafening Clarion dealing with the board there from Seth Manfield. But Cavalier of Flame as well, just an all-star.
That card has just been so powerful all weekend long in these Jeskai Fires decks. We've seen games that looked like they were absolutely over in one direction, then suddenly Cavalier of Flames, burst of hasty damage. And yep, there it is.
Game.
The first match goes pretty quickly and decisively to Marcio, and it looked like the second match may sort of follow suit, but Seth would not have that go down that way.
I know, we are all expecting, out here. All right, well, Marcio's got it. No, in fact, we're tied up.
Actually, someone came out to get me. They're like, we need you out in the booth. I'm like, Seth's winning.
Yeah.
I'm going to take my time.
Right, I'll just
Seth won.
leisurely.
Here we are.
I know, right? Exactly. But, they're going to put on a good show for us.
Oh, yeah.
So
sure.
one match apiece for these people, playing to face Paulo Vitor, Dama de Rosa in the grand finals. I mean, can you talk about what they must be feeling in there in terms of pressure?
Clearly not as much as some of us watching are. The way that Seth navigated, I think it was game 2 of the second match, was remarkable. He missed on his light up the stage on land.
Yes.
And then had the presence of mind to not play his land into the Robber of the Rich that he had hit, and baited Marcio into using the Aether Gust on his 1-drop.
It was great.
And then played the Berserker that ended up effectively winning the game. That won him that match, effectively. That play of getting the 1-drop Aether Gusted so Marcio wouldn't get hit by another light up the stage was just absolutely brilliant from Seth, and not something that I think a lot of players would have done.
No, I was sitting there watching it, and I'm like, wait, what's he doing?
Why aren't you playing your Robber? You'll lose your Robber if you don't play it this turn. It's like, no, it's because this is better. And the Berserker was protected from the Teferi that Marcio had, and it just ended up going all Seth's way after that.
Absolutely. Really, really cool to watch Seth play these games with mono red, especially for me, somebody who likes attacking with creatures. So this is what I like to see.
We were saying earlier, so many people, they think of red decks, they're like, oh, you just play your stuff, you hit them and they die. Oh, it doesn't take any thought. The way that Seth has navigated a lot of these games, from the attack into the Teferi in the match against Nassif, gave him exact damage, but still prevented the Teferi minus, to that just sort of baiting the Aether Gust to protect his more powerful card, has just been masterful all day.
I need to know, though, so whoever wins this is going to, play Paulo. Who does Paulo most wish he was playing against?
It's interesting because I think Paulo's game 1 matchup against Seth is quite poor, but his sideboarded matchup against Seth is very strong, and being able to play back-to-back-to-back matches means that you're just playing so many sideboarded games that I think that he may want to play against Seth rather than Marcio, simply because that plan he has. He brings something like 11 cards.
Wow.
So it's tough though. I mean, he already beat both of them in this tournament,
right,
and now they have to effectively beat him twice over in the grand final, whoever it is.
Wow. Okay. So the loser of this match goes home. The winner goes to the grand final to play for the title of world champion and $300,000. Let's find out who it's gonna be.
Welcome back to the booth here at not Mythic Championship, the World Championship.
It's a lot bigger than that.
It's a lot bigger than that. $300,000 up for grabs to the first place, $150,000 to second, and $100,000 to third. Yeah, there's a lot on the line, I'd say.
Yeah, absolutely. And now we get to see these two fantastic players in Seth Manfield and Marcio Carvalho, someone who has gotten in Seth. He's won a World Championship before. For Marcio, he has lost in the finals of a World Championship before. Whoever wins this gets the opportunity to battle in the grand finals against PVDDR. That's Paulo Vitor, Dama de Rosa, to see who will be the world champion, something that Paulo has never done before. It's awesome to see these three players kind of round out what has been an amazing weekend here in Honolulu. And let me tell you, these games that we've watched so far have been incredible.
They have been. Looks like our players are ready to get underway. This is match number 3. Both of them just like fighting tooth and nail to, to stay in this. They want to face up against Paulo in the finals. Marcio Carvalho, Seth Manfield, Fires of Invention versus the Red Deck Wednesday.
We've been on highs and lows here through this match, right? Where we saw Marcio win 2-0 very quickly in that first match, and then him win game number 1 in match 2 and thinking, I gotta win one game, and both of these games are looking pretty good. Seth misses his second land drop in game number 2 and comes all the way back, and in that third game, Marcio had basically everything that he wanted with all that interaction, Clarion's, everything, and that game, got away from him too. I'm gonna keep my eyes on our bottom player there in Carvalho because is you saw some frustration at the end of game 3 of match 2, him having that one get away from him. See if he's able to rebound mentally and say, you know what, that was then, this is now, I can still win this match and make the finals.
High pressure situation. I mean, as a player, what do you do? What do you say to yourself as you're going into this final matchup?
It's the most cliche thing of all time, but it's one game at a time.
Yeah.
It's one game at a time. It's one turn at a time. It's one game action at a time. Kibler did a nice job of talking about that game action from Seth in game 2, where he didn't play his Robber of the Rich pre-combat. One game action can win you an entire game and match.
Things are underway here. Scorch Spitter is on the battlefield, finding lands on both sides, so things are looking good. We're going to get into this matchup here, and it's going to be a good one. I've got a feeling. Robert of the Rich, like we spoke about earlier, coming in hot, going to get that trigger, and it is a Cavalier of Gales that he's stolen off the top of the library.
Now, this is one of those games where Seth is on the draw, but you're going to see Marcio's third land, and it's a copy of Fabled Passage. Let me tell you what that signals at home, folks. If that's your third land, that means that you don't have a fourth one because you obviously want that to be your fourth land. When you have 3 other lands in addition to the Fabled Passage, the land that you get off Fabled Passage enters the battlefield untapped. So that's as loud of a signal as there could possibly be if you're Seth that he doesn't have a fourth land, which means he needs to peel one, and some of his lands enter the battlefield tapped, so I might not have to worry about Fire's Intervention next turn.
Does that change his approach to the game now?
It absolutely does.
Is he feeling a bit more confident to, you know, commit more resources to the battlefield, or does not much really change? Because still Deafening Clarion is a threat.
I don't think it changes his outlook on do I want to deploy more things. What it does is it's just a loud signal that my opponent has 3 lands. Now, access to all the colors, yes, but only access to 2 mana on this turn and 3 next turn for sure, potentially 4. So now he's going to take a minute, and you see him taking more than that to figure out how he wants to move forward on this turn, given that information that he's just picked up.
Robber of the Rich and Scorchbird is swinging on in once again. What do we steal this time? It's a Bone Crusher Giant. A few more points of damage. Gonna take Marcio down to 12.
Now, Marcio does have a copy of Aether Dust that he can interact with here if he'd like to. Remember, he's playing 2 main deck copies of that card. Now, also, if you're Seth, you may be thinking to yourself, well, look, he played a Fabled Passage this turn. Maybe he's got a Fabled Passage for turn number 4. But if I'm in Seth's spot here, I'm thinking, I'm pretty sure he doesn't have a 4th land. And I, just like you, Ailey, have the pleasure to be able to see what's going on in Marcio's hand. So I'm curious to see how Marcio wants to interact. And it looks like he might be thinking about gusting the stage.
Oh, yeah. So light up the stage is either going to go to the top or the bottom of the library, depending on where Seth Manfield thinks it's most useful. Does he want to find unknown draws, or does he want to keep digging through his library to try and close out this match? Find the Embercleave, find the Chandras. Oh, Chandra is not in his main deck, right? Yeah. So let's keep going on. Let's play this Stomp from Marcio's Bone Crusher Giant that he's stolen. Down to 10.
That'll be going on in an adventure now. We're going to head back over to Marcio. He's going to sacrifice this land. So now Marcio's got 2 options before the draw step, of course, because he could draw land 4, and
there we go, he does.
Did.
Easy peasy. Fires of Invention on the battlefield now. Things are looking good here for Marcio Carvalho. Deafening Clarion will take care of the battlefield, and now Seth has to rebuild.
That was an absolutely enormous draw there for Marcio. Now, I will say this. Marcio did take care of the battlefield now. He's got a Teferi in hand, but he would love to find land number 5 to be able to deploy Kenrith, have his mana untapped, and start gaining 5 life, something that these red decks really can't overcome. So if you're Seth, and I'm sure Seth knows this right now, I got to get this game over. I got to finish this game up.
It's go time, baby. Let's get this game over and done with Fervent Champion swinging on in. Will we see a Boulder Rush? No, just the 1 point of damage there. Light up the stage is now active for the spectacle cost. What do we find? An Annex and another mountain. So there we go. There's land number 4 for Seth Manfield.
Now, if you're Seth, you're going to play your land, of course. You can hardcast Rimrock Knight. You can stomp with the Bone Crusher Giant. You're really hoping your opponent doesn't have land 5 in Kenrith, because that's bad news everywhere. And note that Marcio has a draw step, and he has Teferi that can bounce something, and that will allow him to draw a card. So he's got 2 shots at it.
Does at that. Is it going to be Rimrock Knight, or will we see Bone Crusher Giant getting in for 2 more points of damage? Let's get the critter down. So here comes Rimrock Knight. Aether Gust off the top of the library. It's not the 5th land.
Not yet. This gives you a second chance at it if you're Marcio.
All right, let's see. What you got there, Teferi?
What's he want to bounce? Remember, I'm not going to say the 5th land is game over, but it's going to make it extremely, extremely, extremely hard for Seth to win.
Let's see what's off the top of the library. There it is. Okay,
Yep.
okay. There's land number 5. That gets Kenrith down on the battlefield.
And there is that head nod that we have seen from Marcio when things are going the right way. He definitely plays with a lot of emotion, and now he knows that, okay, I've got Kenrith coming, I can give it haste and trample and get some damage in if I want to, but more importantly, he can do this, he can go from 7 to 12, and that's oftentimes too much for Mono Red to overcome.
Yeah, you can see Seth just shifting his chair a little bit. He knows this just got increasingly more difficult to win. So he has to find some combination of cards along with a cheeky Ember Cleave to try and wrap up this game or try and just get Kenrith off the battlefield.
Now here's how things shift. If you're Seth, now you got to go wide. You got to get a ton of things on the battlefield, and you got to hope that Marcio's draws are not particularly good. That's where this game shifts to now.
Oh, there we go. There's land number 6, a Dream Trawler is going to join the party.
Now, if you're a Jeskai fan, you see that Marcio has land number 6 for Dream Trawler number 1. He's got Gust to send Annex back. And since he doesn't have to tap mana for any of this stuff, that means he also has the ability to gain 5 life, of course, with the Kenrith. And then that means that for Seth, I think this game has just fully gotten away from him.
Yeah, 5 life is just so much for a mono red player to counteract. Aethergust going to send back Anax, goes to the bottom of the library, and here comes good old Dream Trawler.
This one reminds me a lot of game 1 of match 1 that we saw, where Marcio was able to kind of get a battlefield that resembles this going. Those main deck copies of Dream Trawler, you of course can give your creatures haste, give some beatdowns, gain some life as well, which it looks like Marcio is considering doing right now. But a lot of things going well here for Marcio Carvalho.
These are going very well indeed. Dream Trawler swinging on in, going to draw a card. It's Cavalier of Flames. Nice. All right, things are looking very, very good here for Marcio.
And Marcio knows everything that Seth is working with for the most part. You see the Bone Crusher Giant that's on an adventure, the Rimrock Knight that's been revealed, the Annex that just went to the bottom of the deck via the Aethergust. So he knows everything that's going on.
Yeah, I just love that draw.
Yeah. This is
man,
bunch
this
of
is going to
Cavaliers.
be a very painful turn next turn.
Yeah, we'll see if Seth even wants to go through this one. Drew another copy of Bone Crusher Giant, but there's no outs in this spot. This is what it's got to look like. This is what it has to look like for Marcio in game 1. He had it in match 1, game 1 previously. He's got it in game 1 of match 3 here.
Yep.
And this should put him up 1.
Yeah, Seth knows the writing's on the wall. Marcio picking up the victory. Just needs one more game to make it through to the finals. Ooh, this has been an awesome matchup indeed between these two players. Both excellent. Both want to get there. They don't want to go home yet. They don't want to stop playing Magic today. There's so much on the line.
I don't know what Paulo Vitor's doing right now, but I know he's hanging out. He's just thinking, wow, these two players are just really throwing punches back and forth at each other. Haymaker after haymaker after haymaker. But they're going to have to settle in when they play against Paulo because Paulo's looking to do it with 1/1 tokens from Castle Ardenvale, folks. So if you like Magic, we're going to be here for a long time today. I can promise you that.
Wouldn't have it any other way. So let's get going here. Game number 2. Can Marcio Carvalho pick up the final win that he needs to progress to the finals, or will Seth Manfield put up a fight and make him work for it?
Well, this hand is just so reminiscent to what we've seen from Marcio many times here with the Clarion and Gust. Only 2 lands as opposed to maybe 3 or 4. Trawler is very slow. Kenriths are very good. This is a risky keep here for Marcio.
Does have the scry, so
he is relying a little bit on Temple to kind of tie the room together a little bit here. Fabled Passage being land number 3 is not bad. And if he's able to get Kenrith going and Dream Trawler, well, we just saw that last game.
Oh, yeah.
We know what that means.
Oh, yeah. Swing some Foresight's not going to do it this time. It goes to the bottom of the library. So Marcio's hoping to find a land at the top of the battlefield, which Seth Manfield has just done. So 3 lands for him. He's got a really good looking curve there, actually.
Interesting spot here for Seth. He's got 3 different 2-drops to play. It looks like he's going to go with the Robber instead of Berserker or Rimrock Knight. So away we go.
Swing a ding ding, 4 points of damage. What do we steal at the top? Well, I got a land, it seems like, so that hurts a bit, but we found another Temple of Epiphany.
Okay, so
top, so finding his lands.
So mana's not the end of the world here for Marcio. He's got lands. Some of them are a little slow, given temples, and he can't interact on this turn. So Seth knows that. I'm curious to see what Seth does this turn. This is a great shot. This is a great time, to get in your damage with Rimrock Knight.
Yeah.
The window is open here to do that, and then play an Unchained Berserker post-combat if Seth wants to.
Yeah. Unchained Berserker is very, very good in this matchup. Protection from white, so dodges Deafening Clarion, dodges Dream Trawler and Teferi. So here we go. Rimrock Knight, Boulder Dash, swinging for a bunch of damage. Down to 10 goes Marcio.
I absolutely love this. You play your Berserker post-combat. If Marcio wants to, of course, play Deafening Clarion, he's going to have to take 2 damage to do it. That's going to bring him down to 8. Then Seth has got land 4 and Torbrand number 1 rolled up. So this is exactly how you want it to go when you're on the play. Looks like Marcio is going to hold steady a little bit here and leave up Aethergust instead.
Aethergust has plenty of good targets, this being one of them. Torbrand, Thing of Redfell. Gives every permanent that deals damage. It's red extra 2. So Ethergust is a tough decision here.
Well, this is a rock and a hard place, right? If you gust the Torbrand, you're going to take a boatload of damage here. If you let Torbrand in and you gust the Unchained Berserker, you're going to take a boatload of damage anyway because Torbrand's on the battlefield. So you can't do everything you want to right now if you're Marcio. Seth has really put Marcio in a rock and a hard place where it's kind of a no-win decision, but he has to make one.
He does. Otherwise, he's very, very dead very quickly. So this attack is going to be for 7, down to 3. Here we go. He needs to wipe this battlefield, but the Unchained Berserker is still on the battlefield. So Marcio taking the loss there from Seth Manfield. We are going to the maximum game numbers.
It's fitting, and I wouldn't have it any other way. These two awesome players. Again, Seth Manfield, former world champion. Marcio has gotten second in Worlds before. These players have played in Worlds multiple times. Winner goes on to the grand finals to play against PVDDR. Loser walks out of here with $100,000. Nothing to be upset about, but you know these players, they want the title.
They want the title. No one remembers who got 3rd place 10 years down the line.
That's
they want to know who the champion is, right?
And I got to ask our people in attendance, excuse me, are we hyped for this final game between these two awesome players, right?
Hell yeah. Let's get this underway. Who is our second finalist? Seth Manfield or Marcio Carvalho? Both players doing an excellent job of staying in this competition, staying alive. Sphinx of Foresight is going to do the scry things, finding a Justice Strike and Fires of Invention off the top of the library.
So some will stay, some will go. It looks like Justice Strike's going to go away. Island and Fires of Invention will stay. Seth's hand, he's got a 1, a 2, a 3. His hand's pretty well curved out right now.
All right, Marcio, you need to find your board wipes.
Yeah, that's what Marcio is missing, but he's got ways to delay in copies of Ethergust, and that's exactly what you want against Red. Again, not a permanent answer, but a good enough one to get you to your Fires of Invention, which he kept on top of his deck. And then, well, we know what his deck can do once he gets that going.
So 2 copies of Ethergust will keep these creatures at bay. Chandra, Acolyte of Flame off the top of the library here for Seth. We saw how good it is, you know, post-sideboard against these decks that play so many sweepers and removal spells.
This is so fun to watch what Seth wants to do on turn 2. He could very easily play land, robber, attack you. He could play land, Unchained Berserker post-combat, or he can say, how about Scorch Spitter? We start here, which will turn on light up the stage if I want to go that direction. So 2 damage dealt. Now, how do we move forward? It looks like land, Unchained Berserker. I got to imagine Marcio's going to interact.
Ethergust, get rid of this Unchained Berserker. To the top or to the bottom?
Tough decision because Seth has other 2s. He's got a play he wants to make next turn, probably in Chandra. He could also hardcast a Bone Crusher Giant. However, Unchained Berserker is really good in this matchup, but I think he's sending it away.
He did. It's to the bottom of the library, so we're going to see a Chandra or a Bone Crusher Giant next turn. But first things first, here comes Big Ol' Teferi. Going to send Scorch Spitter back to hand. Draw a card. It is a Temple of Epiphany.
Marcio's draw's good. His draw is quite good this game. He's got land 4, fires 1. That's something to play with it in Sphinx. Teferi, you can clean off the battlefield right now if you're Seth if you want to. I'm not sure how much you care about the Planeswalker anymore since it's kind of done its thing at this stage.
Yeah, Teferi is only really annoying at 3 loyalties, so.
It's also kind of interesting too because Seth doesn't have to go to Chandra this turn. I think, you know, that's a simple play of using all of your mana, make a couple elementals, deal some damage. He could also go Robber Scorch Spitter if he wants.
Looks like he's going to Chandra, Acolyte of Flame, generate the 2 little 1/1s, one possibly taking care of Teferi and the other one going straight to face. So down to 17 goes Marcio.
Huge draw step.
Ooh, okay.
So that's something for Marcio to work towards, that if Dream Trawler's on the battlefield against Red, as we do know from Azorius control and so much of this standard format, it's almost impossible for Red to win. So though Marcio is 2 turns away from that potentially, it's still not a bad draw step.
Not at all. And also getting the Sphinx of Foresight down against these creatures, being able to kill off a Robber of the Rich if it attacks. He's got his defenses up. So things are looking good here for Marcio, but there's still a lot of threats in hand with Seth Manfield to deal with.
Where does Seth want to begin? It's easy to start with Chandra, just 0, make a couple elementals. You'll get 2 1/1s. One of them will get through. The Sphinx can block the other one. You can go towards Robber of the Rich. Do you want to go towards Bone Crusher Giant Stomp? Or do you just want to get this onto the battlefield right now? It looks like Seth is going to do something we've seen him do multiple times, which in situations like this, you got to go wide.
Yeah, go wide or go home. And I'm pretty sure Seth doesn't want to go home. Fabled Passage to the bottom of the library. Now that was land number 6 if you wanted it, so.
Now he's going to get a couple of different looks at land number 6. 1, because of the temple that he has in his hand. 2, because the Sphinx that's on the battlefield. But if he really wants to go for it, he has Castle Vantress as well.
Yes.
So he's got a lot of looks at land number 6, so I don't mind him sending that one to the bottom.
Oh, hey, Kenny.
Trouble's here.
Hey, Kenny.
Trouble is here.
Bone Crusher Giant's gonna get to stomp in and take care of the Unchained Berserker. Unfortunately, no protection from the red Angry Giant. And onto the battlefield it goes as well. Lynx can take care of Chandra almost. Stays at 1. So, still able to generate the 1/1s, but they're going to become a little bit of a pest if left unchecked, so Marcio needs to get rid of that eventually.
Seth needs to find his power cards. He needs to find Torbrand. He needs to find Embercleave. He drew a Chandra and a Berserker, and both those cards are really good in certain circumstances, but he's got to find his heavy hitters. The cards that have gotten him this far are Embercleave and Torbrand, and he doesn't have either right now.
2 hasty tokens along with Scorch Spitter. Just the tokens swinging on in. We'll get through for 1 point of damage. Light up the stage will activate thanks to the second Scorch. Thanks to the second Elemental. And will we see light up the stage?
Yeah,
Get some more looks at those action cards we're trying to find.
He needs help. Okay.
Oh,
Well,
help is on the way. Help is on the way. There's a Torbrand and an Anax. Here we go. Anax on the battlefield. He's at 5 power.
now remember, we know what Marcio's going to draw. He's going to draw Kenrith, which means that Dream Trawler is not going to come this turn. However, Aether Gust is a great first spell to play in combination with Kenrith, maybe getting haste and gaining some life. I think this is getting away from Seth now.
Yeah. Very much in favor of Marcio Carvalho here. He's got 3 very powerful creatures on the battlefield, all of which now have haste and trample. So let's get to trampling. Swinging in for a buttload of damage. That is a lot of damage going through.
It
and
sure
now
is.
Seth Manfield, if he doesn't find an answer now, Marcio Carvalho is through to the finals. He's going to be playing for $300,000 up against Paulo Vitor Damo de Rosa. Does Seth Manfield have any outs here?
He's going to give a long look with Torbrand over there in exile from the light up the stage. You see the hands, Robber of the Rich, Bone Crusher Giant, but it's not going to be enough. I don't think he's thinking about it, and I think he may. He's going to start with Chandra, but you mentioned, Ailey, Marcio is a turn away for playing for $300,000.
Tantalizingly close is Marcio Carvalho. He wants this. He doesn't want second place anymore. He wants to be the world champion.
What can Seth do? What can Seth do on this turn? Kenrith is out there to gain some life or draw some cards. Dream Trawler in the holster. Battlefield's probably already good enough here for Carvalho. Here come the elemental tokens from Chandra, but I don't think there's a ton that can be done. Don't forget that Robber the Rich does have reach if that matters right now as far as blocking is concerned, but Marcio can gain so much life with Kenrith.
It's running away here from Seth Manfield. Marcio Carvalho has gotten all of his big threats down. He's found his 6th land. He's got a Dream Trawler available to him. I think we have just found our 2nd finalist. All right, let's get this match over and done with here, Marcio. There's another Kenrith.
He can play
number
this.
6.
He can play the Trawler. He can, of course, give the Trawler haste. He can draw a
let's
card
do
as
it.
well.
Let's go out in style. Let's give the entire team haste. And let's get into the finals, Marcio. First things first, let's go and find a land. Let's make sure we've got everything lined up here. You don't want to make any mistakes at this crucial point in the tournament.
He'll start by drawing a card.
Yep.
That will, of course, trigger the Dream Trawler.
Give Dream Trawler the extra power. Finds a definite
Well,
Clarion too. All right.
If it wasn't good, if it wasn't good before, it sure is now.
It's pretty good now, yeah. It's pretty good now. So I think it's safe to say that we have our 2nd final.
I think we're pretty close, yeah. I think we're pretty close. Paulo Vitor Damo de Rosa, time to get off the beach, my friend. You've got some Magic to play, and it's going to be against someone he's already played and beaten this weekend in Marcio Carvalho. Deafening Clarion, not once but twice. Let's choose 2 beautiful modes on this powerful card, I believe.
Yeah, why not just do both? There we go. You'll lose your Bone Crusher Giant, but it's fine. All right, there you go, friends. Marcio Carvalho is through to the finals. He is playing for $300,000. Congratulations. Seth Manfield doesn't go home empty-handed, but now it is all about Marcio and Paulo Vitor Damo de Rosa. Congratulations to Marcio.
Unbelievable. Unbelievable stuff between these 2 amazing players. And you saw Marcio, the highs and the lows, and the highs and the lows of the match, wins the first match of the set, 2-0 pretty easily.
Yeah.
He's saying, you know what, I've got these Aether Gusts, I've got these Clarions, I've got all of this stuff. I came ready to beat Red, but Seth wasn't going to go down without a fight. He was down a game in match 2, clawed all the way back. Yeah, he missed his 2nd land drop in game 2. Yeah, he barely won in game 3, gave himself the opportunity, but at the end of the day,